Welcome to Fanatic Sports Channel.
Stepping up to the couch, it's Brian, who led the league last season in cracked screens. But with his new athletic case, it looks like that won't be the case. Touchdown, Brian!
Promo code FANSPORTS for 10% off your purchase. Remember to smash that subscribe button like you're gaining health points on Zelda. Smash it. You need those health points. Hey, welcome to Fanatic Sports, everyone. I have my friend Taylor here. We're going to break down the Super Bowl. Well, actually, we're going to preview the Super Bowl, rather. And we're going to give our decisions, our picks, reasons why. Go over some of this old tape. How you doing today, buddy?
Not too bad. Just hunkering down in this storm. Relaxing, trying to stay warm, man. Yourself?
Dude, pretty much the same thing. It's like hitting all over the country. I bet up north a lot worse, but for sure, man. I mean, this is going to be an interesting Super Bowl this next Sunday, though. We have the Patriots and the Rams. This is a 2002 rematch Super Bowl. The video or the footage you're watching right now is of that exact game, where Tom Brady is the only player left who's actually still playing from that game. And it was a long time ago that Brady had this. Anyway, talk about what you found looking back on their matchup, Taylor.
You know, that game, I don't really give.
Well, Brady, I mean, he did what he did to have or be done. Looking back at it, I saw a lot more defensive. He only had one touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense had one, Ty Law. But that's where his legacy, I guess you could call it, started. He beat a hell of a guy in Kurt Warner and Marshall Faulk.
Yeah, they call it the greatest show on turf.
Yeah, and that was the first Super Bowl I ever thoroughly remember watching.
Actually, me too, exactly. That was the first one I remember watching too. So this is a rematch of like my earliest football memories. It's pretty crazy.
It is.
Obviously, Brady is a lot better than he was back then, and the Rams are a completely different team. The last time these two teams faced, it was 2016, Week 13. Goff was a rookie, and I believe, what was that guy's name? Jeff Fisher was the coach for that team.
Yep.
Yeah, that was, and I believe that was the team that was on Hard Knocks. That was a much different team than what we see in 2019. Talk about their transition, their change, since they've gotten Sean Mcvay as a coach.
Yeah, McVay's a quarterback coach. That's what he does. He finds what that quarterback does well, and he puts him in position to win. I mean, we've seen that now with Goff. And getting weapons around him. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, Todd Gurley. It's just, and the defense is, I mean, it wasn't as great as what everybody thought it would be, like it was on paper, but it definitely has shown up. And Aaron Donald, he's just an animal. He's a man amongst kids, boys. He just makes people look crazy.
Speaking of Aaron Donald, he's definitely a really good player, and in a lot of they have a lot of defensive, like, second-year players and everything. But one guy that has stood out to me, like, the better he gets, or the better weapons he gets, the better he is Jared Goff. And he's a lot different from the last time these teams have faced. A lot of people thought he was a bust the first year he came out with Jeff Fisher. Since then, he's been anything but a bust. We're watching some of his highlights tearing up the New Orleans Saints last week, or 2 weeks ago, rather. Tell me about his progression and what you see as a quarterback. Do you think he can be limited, or do you think he's just, he's untouchable? He'll be like a progressive player or he'll keep progressing throughout the next 5 to 10 years.
I think he'll get better because from what I've heard from listening to ESPN Sports Center, radio, all that, they say that McVay just kind of gives him the receiver to throw to, and he just throws it. We see the accuracy and everything else, but I think the more he gets older and sees more defenses, he can do more of the stuff by himself, and he'll be all right and go through progressions, reading, which receiver will be open on this play. He'll hopefully progress into another Brady. We'll see.
That would be interesting. Speaking of Brady, he does take a lot less money. And this Rams team is a team that relies on, free agents supposedly. Do you think Goff should take less money going forward when his rookie contract is up, or do you think he's too talented for that?
Honestly, I think all quarterbacks should, because they're not going to win if they don't have somewhat of a piece. Unless they're an absolute great quarterback like Mahomes, I guess you could say, or Brady. Brady, other than the Randy Moss years and stuff like that, but how many times do we see him make a no-name receiver somebody great?
Pretty much every one of his receivers.
Yeah, Wes Welker, he was nothing in Miami when he was there, and a lot of people don't even know he was there. And
Amendola.
Edelman. Just nobody really knew these guys real well coming out, and here they are. And then we're talking about them constantly as slot guys, stretch the field guys. Chris Hogan last year, I believe it was, that just showed up and just was phenomenal.
Yeah, Chris Hogan, he just caught a catch, actually. It's funny you brought him up. Chris Hogan, he was an interesting guy. For me, when he came out, he was like just this slow, kind of gangly guy, and now he's like a possession, Jason Avant type of player. He's definitely got some possession tangibles to him, and it's very fascinating to see like how Brady just turns these no names into potential Pro Bowlers and Super Bowl champions time after time. I even did a video at the beginning of the year about how Brady was going into the season with potentially the worst receiving corps he's ever had, and yet he's in the Super Bowl. And that's just unbelievable to me. Talk about his legend being in the Super Bowl 9 times, winning 5 of them already, maybe 6.
And what can you say? He's great. Him and Belichick, and I think a lot of the credit does go to Belichick. Me and a buddy were talking the other day, and look at the reference back when Brady was suspended for the 4 games, and they started 3-1 with Jacoby Brissett and Jimmy Garoppolo.
That's true. Yeah.
How much of it's Belichick and how much of it's Brady? Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from Brady.
Yeah.
He is a great quarterback. He makes things happen.
Well, I definitely think that Belichick is probably the best coach in the league. I would argue that Brady adds the stability to make you a championship contender no matter what. And I don't know if you can get that from anyone else.
No, and looking at it that standpoint, Brady can make those throws. I don't think Belichick could have taken Brissett or Jimmy G maybe to the Super Bowl, but Brady has been here time after time and has progressed every single year into a better quarterback at the age of 41.
He gets better at everything. Yeah, he gets better and better each year at something. He chooses something in the offseason to work on. This year, it was taking less sacks, so he would just roll every time he would get even sniffed at. It's just unbelievable.
And the crazy thing is, too, speaking of Brady, is just we all think he had this crappy year. It wasn't the same Patriots, but really you look at his numbers and they're not bad at all. Super efficient,
and he ran the offense like they wanted it to run. Offenses don't need to be like Aaron Rodgers all the time where you just bootleg every single time. It can be like fullback and short yardage, and that's a way to beat a team. Like you don't have to play football big stats.
Look at what he did in the playoffs this year with James White. How many catches did James White have? Yeah, it's just crazy.
Speaking of James White and Sony Michel, actually, the running backs for the Patriots, I personally think that those guys are going to be the X factor. Tell me why you think those guys have had such a major impact in these playoffs, specifically rookie Michel.
That's the Patriots do a good job every postseason of turning up that running game and keeping the other offense, if it's a high-potent offense like the Rams or like the Chiefs, off the field. And it keeps them off the field, and they just become successful with it. So I think that's why they always have such big games. And I think, Sony and James White, they'll have great games. Look at that Falcons Super Bowl a few years back. We were talking James White, Deion Lewis. They were just tearing it up. It's one thing that they specialize in during the playoffs for some reason.
And we're watching time after time in this clip, Devlin, the fullback for the Patriots, who's just an unsung hero, just bulldozing these Kansas City linebackers, I almost said tight ends, and safeties, and just completely crapping on them. And then Sony just sneaks in behind him for 6-7 yards each time. It's absolutely, they're playing old school smash mouth football, and nobody else is. They're zagging while everyone else is zigging. Speaking of the running backs, unless you have any other words on Sony and White, but with all these running backs, Gurley and Anderson are also some guys that have made a huge impact for this Rams team. Obviously, Gurley has been injured. He's made a few good plays, but Anderson has been Fat Anderson, what we're calling him, has been the workhorse for this Rams team with their creative run designs. Talk about those guys and their impact on this game.
Well, from what we've seen from Fat Anderson and Gurley in that, I think it was the Cowboys game, they can make it happen. Anderson still has a little bit left in the tank, so it's still threatening, but I don't think he's Gurley.
Yeah.
If Gurley's healthy in this one, I think that gives the Rams a big upside.
I agree.
They definitely have to make sure they hit their blocks right. But then again, it's Belichick and that defense. He gets them ready. Nobody thought this defense could hold up in the playoffs. Well, look at them now. They're here.
I find it fascinating. Belichick's like the ultimate counter punch, whereas McVay's the ultimate haymaker punch. He creates these crazy offensive design plays that no one ever has seen before, and Belichick's the one that figures out all of your little schemes. So this is really a battle of mad geniuses and their efficient, smart quarterbacks who are both really good pocket passers. I think another thing to look at with the Rams run game is everyone is so scared of Goff's down the field accuracy that they're just oh crap, can we stack the box? They don't even know if they can ever, because you never know when he's just gonna pop one for 30 yards. But anyway, that's all I got on this game. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Patriots. I want to get your last words on this game, and I want to get your pick. I'm going to take the Patriots. Belichick's seen it too many times. McVay's going to be to a couple other Super Bowls, but this is the time the Patriots get their number 6. That's my prediction. What do you got, buddy?
So I'm picking the Patriots as well. They always get playoff ready. It's Brady, it's Belichick, but again,